everyone. Welcome back to Average Joe's Tech Reviews. I'm your host, Joe. And today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to review not just one, not just two, but three things today. Today, we're going to look at the exciting world of power banks. I know, so exciting. You're jumping for joy. I can hear the crowd screaming already. I'd push the button, but we don't need to do that. So, welcome back. Glad you're here. So I've mentioned a power pack, showed one in the last episode, but what I want to kind of show you is three that we as a family and me personally use on an almost regular basis. And I'll kind of explain what each one is used for and how long they usually last me and basically what are the ups and downsides of having them and how will they work for you. So let's look at one of the ones I've had the longest so far, and that is, well, let's wait a second there. I had a great line. We all know that back in the day, those little lipstick chargers we used to be able to buy at the stores and charge them up and use them to charge our phones, or even those little thin little USB battery packs, and they used to be able to charge our phones, but let's be honest, these things suck. And by suck, I mean they suck a lot of battery power. If you leave them plugged in, those little lipstick lighter, little lipstick chargers, they're not going to do much in the realm of getting your phone charged up. And so now we can get to where we're going right now. This is one of my older ones that I've had for a few years now. This is, and we'll go to camera 2 here. This is the Omnicharge. This is a pretty decently sized brick. It is 20,400 milliamps at 73 watt hours at 3.6 volts. There's the 3-prong charger, front-facing digital display with power and choices of what you're powering it from. Here's the big fan and the wall charger for it. So I've had this for quite a long time. Picked this up, three, almost 4 years ago now. Because of the traveling I was doing for church, conferences, just because we're a military family and we travel a lot, found ourselves just needing something better than your standard lipstick charger. And so I researched and kind of found this one and found it to be quite useful. It holds a pretty decent sizable charge. Like I said, 20,400. And you can travel with it to the airport, so no one's yelled at me yet or tossed it in the garbage or yelled at me. Let's go ahead and take a look at here. It has a nice little power button. Loads up the screen and gives you the nice, like this currently has is 67%. You have your, gonna hit it to make it bright because it goes dim to save on its own power. There's your wattage. And then you have your charge coming in, your energy going out, how much time is left on the device, and current temperature of the battery inside the device. Right here, top, you got a top and a bottom button here. You hit it, and it tells you that it is currently using the HVDC, which is right here. Okay, and then you hit the bottom one, and that now turns on the USB function here. So you can use all three to charge. You can be charging a phone, an iPad, and your computer all at the same time. Now, yes, it will split the charge amongst the three, and you will find yourself charging things pretty well. It has a 3.0 charge down here, which is the faster charger for like doing your cell phone and iPad and things like that. Let's go ahead and turn it off. Just press and hold, and it's off. So using this, I've used it mostly for laptops and the Surface when charging those things. So I have this. I've also used it for my iPad because my iPad is USB-C. As you can tell, this does not have USB-C and it does not have wireless charging. There is newer generations of this that have the QI charging on the top, and it has a USB-C. So instead of having the wall brick, I believe it has a USB-C, so you can either charge it or charge out. So with like my iPad, I'll put the brick here and run it to the iPad and it'll be fine. Length of time to use. Obviously, a laptop will suck this battery dry a lot faster than it would if you were just using like your phone or iPad to be charged. A lot of times when I've charged my cell phone or even my iPad, this thing can last, I don't know, if most of my devices like the iPad and the iPhone, I'm usually charging them when they're like at 50%. So I've never done like a whole zero, like dead battery from scratch charge it. But this thing will last most of the day if I'm just doing the phones and the iPad. Now, using like the Lenovo I kind of talked about last episode, and I'm using that, I'll use this one, and it'll last a good 2.5 hours at max, and that's if I'm using my laptop for more intense editing. Now, if I was using it like I've done in the past, like maybe at a hotel for a lot of times when I travel to preach at churches, maybe in the mountains or somewhere else, we would be usually set up in a hotel with one room for 7 people. So it gets a little crowded and I don't get a lot of focus time to work on sermons and things like that. So what I would end up doing is grabbing this, my Lenovo or the Surface, and I would go into like the lobby or the end of the hallway where sometimes there might be a desk and sometimes there's no plug. So I'll just pop that on the table, get everything plugged in, and off I'm going. And the program I use, Logos, I mean, will sometimes be intense on the CPU or the RAM when it's pulling what I need and running things. But like I said, this thing can run a couple hours, even 3 hours doing just normal web surfing or typing my documents and things like that. But if I end up doing like video editing or like after a sermon, I usually record my sermons by video and the audio separately, bring them together. That will bring this down to a couple hours of use, and then it'll just die pretty quickly. But still, a couple hours of use is really good because most of us, if we're traveling like that, that may be the maximum amount of time we might get to have that time to do that before we're either back on the road driving or spending time with our family for an activity. So this thing has been my hardest working battery pack up until recently, and I'll tell you why. But I still use it. It is always in my black Timbuk2 bag that I got way back in the day in Virginia, which is a waterproof laptop bag, and this is always in there. Like right now it's at 67%, but that's because I've been using it recently, and I usually wait till it gets low and then I'll plug it into the wall. Charging time to get full from an empty battery here, it could be a few hours. But again, it doesn't charge slow, but it doesn't charge like super duper fast. But it'll take a few hours and it'll be 100% and ready to rock and roll. And so usually, like we'll be going on a trip soon, long road trip across a few states, and I will probably have this in my laptop backpack. So what I'll probably do, like the Friday night before we're supposed to go driving, I will plug this into the wall in the bedroom, make sure it's good to go. I'll pack up the cord for later charge use, and then I'll throw this in the laptop bag, and it'll be there for whenever I need it, whether if maybe when I'm the passenger and not driving, or if we find ourselves at like a nice diner or cafeteria and we're spending a little time just to chill, I may whip this out to use the Surface, or because of the 3-prong plug right here, I'll plug in my camera battery charger and get that charging even while we're driving. You know, just kind of set that up on the floor near the seat and plug in the camera batteries because those need to be charged every once in a while for traveling. So this has been great for that. I also used to use this when I used to have, I used to own drones. I used to charge the batteries for the drone on this when I was out traveling doing some videography on my own, just for my own hobby, getting scenery up in the mountains, especially in the wintertime. And I would just have this. And if I wasn't driving, because a lot of times I might have the huge unit that can, go from the cigarette lighter to a couple 3-prongs, but I would just plug it in here and have it sitting in the car, charging the battery. And it might take a little bit, but it's not going to be super fast, but it worked for what I needed, and it still does. And I still always have it on me as my emergency backup or for any use that I might need. So this is the Omnicharge. Let me see, what is the proper name for this thing? This is the Omnicharge Omni 20. And again, in the description below, I'll put a link for you, and we can talk about what needs you might need that for later. All right, next device. Let's see. This is the Goal Zero Sherpa 100 PD. It's got some good weight to it. In fact, I think they almost seem pretty equal in weight, to be quite honest. Let's see, in comparison, this one was 20,400 milliamp hours, 73 watt hours at 3.6 volts. This one is this one is 90. This one's of course I don't know what I'm looking for on this because again I'm not technically minded. This one is 25.6 amp hours at 3.7 volts. 14.8 volts, 6.4 amp hours, 94.72 watt hours. So I'm not sure how many milliamp hours it has. It doesn't exactly say, so I apologize. I might have to actually look that up. So I will definitely do that while I'm talking about it. So I apologize for that, everybody. I will actually pull it up because I don't want to lie to you and say that it's better or worse or what have you. So I'll look that up. But I picked this up because I was looking for something that, again, had the USB-C capabilities, something that could be maybe a better backup for this device here that could kind of supplement it to help things. Now, let's go to camera 2 here for a second. So here is basically all its features in one thing here. Number one, it has rubber bottom, so you can keep it on a table and it won't slide away. This does have the wireless Q charging for iPhones, so I can just pop my iPhone there and it'll start charging, and I'll show you how that all turns on. But on the front panel here, just very simple. We have the power button to turn it on. Tells us what's the percentage of the battery remaining. It has the USB at 3.4 amps, and then it has a input and output 60 watt USB port as well. And then this button, when you put it, that will be blue when it's on, and when you put a phone on there and it's charging, that color will change to green to let you know that it is charging. And you can just turn it off. Turn it off, really easy. It has a little bit of smartness to it, so if I was to take my iPhone here, and let's go to the big thing, and we plug this in, and I immediately plug it in here, it automatically knows that it needs to put output and turns itself right on, and it's ready to go, and it starts charging a phone. Really simple. And when you unplug, after a little bit of time, it will go, it'll turn itself off. So this Sherpa, really handy. So first thing, let me say, charging it. It charges, like I said, it's an input-output USB-C. So funny thing is, with the MacBook Pro I have in my office, it uses USB-C. And pardon me, I'm typing in for the specs on this so I can tell you the correct things. It is 25,600 milliamp hours compared to 20,400 milliamp hours. Okay, like I was saying, the MacBook Pro uses a USB charger, so does the iPad. So I have plugged those devices. You know, I've used the power brick for the MacBook, and I've used the power brick for the USB for the iPad, and I've plugged it into powered up, and my goodness, does this thing charge itself up fast. I mean, it almost feels like it's instant. I mean, there's times I was running it from a regular USB port, like from, we'll say, like from this, you know, running it from a USB to the USB-C, and you know, and what it does is when it's charging, it'll just kind of blink, and the number blinks, and then slowly the number goes up as it charges, you know. But it's like I plug it in with those plugs, with just straight USB to USB, from a small, you know, USB brick to the big power brick for the MacBook. And the thing, I mean, it literally every 2 blinks, it seems like it's going up by number. And like I've plugged it in and come back 30 minutes later, and it's pretty much been charged, you know, from a 50 or 40% left on this. And that to me was just shocking how quickly it charged in comparison to this. And maybe it is because it's a 60 watt, like, and it can handle that maximum load from the USB cable. I don't know all the specs. Like, again, I'm not the technical guy, but still the speed in which this thing charges is really nice, especially if you're using it a lot. Now for charging my cell phone, I have not done the iPad yet with this. No, okay, I've done the iPad not from like a dead state, but like if I'm in the kitchen cooking and I'm watching like my MLB.TV and I'm watching my games, which, you know, if you can't tell who my team is, um, when I'm watching the games, I'll have it plugged in here to keep the battery at 100% on the iPad so it doesn't die out. And that seems to suck a little bit faster out of this. But charging my phone is what I've paid attention to the most. So when my phone, like a couple nights ago, got down to about 12%, so it was in the red, and I wasn't done yet because I had watched a lot of videos on the phone and was playing a lot of games on it, and so my battery had died pretty quickly through the day, so it was like not even dinner time when it was at 12%. So I took it, grabbed it here, plugged it in, phone started charging, and I'm not kidding, not even 20 minutes later, it was at 79% from 12. Not even 20 minutes later. This thing charges my iPhone faster than charging it like when I plug it in next to my bed. Like this thing just shoots it. And when I got my phone up to 100, this was maybe at 79%, maybe. At times it's been above 80, maybe 79. So basically a full charge for this newest iPhone Extreme version. I sucked away from 100% on this, 20% of this battery. That's not bad, especially when it turns itself off when you're done. And even when it charges the phone, it'll turn itself off when it notices that it's not having to keep charging the phone. So it doesn't just waste and do that. And so a lot of times I'll be like, oh, you stopped charging. I'll push the button just to get it running again. But the thing lasts a very long time. Now, both these devices have what they would call pass-through power. What that means is I can have, again, the power brick for this one plugged into the wall and have all my devices plugged in and sucking power out, and it'll be sucking power in from the wall and pushing power out. So basically charging the battery while also at the same time powering the devices. Same thing with this. If I have this thing plugged in with the USB-C, whether at the wall or the MacBook or whatever it is, I can have it powering my phone wirelessly and out of these two USB ports, 2.0 ports, 3.0 ports, whatever you call them, out to the devices without any interruption of power, stuff like that. So it'll be continually charging while at the same time pushing out power. So love that feature. That's really nice, especially here at the house. Let's be honest, everyone always seems to lose a brick here and there. And so a lot of times I may have this charging in the kitchen, but then I'll have USB ports to my phone and my iPad or something on the counter, just so I can be like, oh, I'll plug them in here. Done, easy peasy. Or, like I said, wireless charging. Now, the case I have for my phone, it gets a little where I have to find the right position, and it's good, but that's because I have a really tough case on here. It makes it harder for the signal to get through. So, this is the Goal Zero Sherpa 100 PD. I had picked this up at Shields when it was on sale. I get a military discount at Shields. I'm a disabled veteran, so I get a discount there. And they were having a sale at the time on Goal Zero. So far, this has not been bad. Time-wise to getting it empty, I feel like because the USB port pushes out more power out of this battery, that it can empty out a lot faster than this Omnicharge. And I think part of it is because this doesn't push out like 60 watts, fast and all that stuff, even through the 3-prong port. So I feel like this one usually lasts longer. But at the same time, I've used the fastest I've seen it drain is because of the USB-C power that you can use. I have charged my Surface Pro 8 with this when I've been at I recently went to the bowling alley with the kids, and they were having the time of their lives, so I was able to sit down at the table while they were bowling, and I was able to work on some podcast stuff and logo design, and I just had it plugged in to this. At the time, the computer was at 82% when I plugged it in, got it up to 100. This thing was at 100, and I think I got it down to about 20%, and that was in about an hour. So that was about an hour's time. So it sucked pretty fast, again, because the laptop was using a lot of stuff, and I was doing more than just searching the web. So this thing can get drained really quickly when using it to power like a Surface Pro. And I'm sure probably even an iPad if I was using it for more heavily reasons. But again, like I said, I've only used it to trickle charge the iPad while I'm watching MLB.TV on it. But do I recommend it? We'll get to that after we get to our next item. All right, next up is this heavy beast. This is the Jackery Explorer 500. This thing is, this thing's a beast. This thing has just, yeah, it's a beast. I'm not gonna actually pull up the details on it because I don't want to, again, I do not want to give you any wrong information. So give me a second to pull that up. I love typing with one hand. It's so exciting. All right, so this is the Jackery Explorer 500. Whew. This thing has, are you ready? Let's get the details. Nope, I'm currently at the Jackery website to make sure. This thing has 500 watt rated power, 1000 watt surge power from a pure sine wave, which is this right here. This thing is 518 watt hours with a 24 amp hour battery capacity. My goodness, yes, this thing is powerful. So the reason we have this is, so we bought a bodega, Dometic fridge, I think is how you say it. And basically it's a travel fridge that's for vehicles, for off-roading, long trips, things like that. And basically our certain fridge has two sections in it, big deep fridge and a small, not so deep freezer section. It can be either both fridge or freezer or whatever. And I might actually do a video to kind of walk through it, but we bought this to help keep that fridge powered whenever our vehicle is not running. So what we do is we run the input here goes to the car input, the car power output in our van. And it keeps this thing trickle charging at about 85 watts. It charges this thing at. And then through the DC out, which is this right here, that then goes to the Dometic fridge. And I think that one sucks about 65 to 67 watts as it's charging the fridge. So basically we keep this thing trickle charged, fridge running out of the DC plug right here. And when we unplug it, this thing has been a monster to keep the fridge running. So that fridge sitting in our car, we have been able to run the fridge off of this device with DC. Now we're talking now in the house versus the car. So in the house, we got the fridge to run for about 52 hours on DC with the fridge set to, that was with it on full power, just not eco mode, things like that. In the car, now you're talking much more drastic temperature changes for that fridge to deal with, where it's constantly turning on the compressor and running and etc. Running out of the DC here, we're looking at about just over 24 hours of use. And that's even with the fridge on the eco mode. But again, you got to remember the constant temperature changes throughout the day, super hot, whatever it is. It's just the compressor turns on so much that we were able to get just over 24 hours, which we were really happy about. Some people were like, well, that doesn't seem like a very long time. Yeah, well, but when you, let's say, park at a hotel at, I don't know, 7 o'clock at night and you leave the fridge running and let this thing run without being trickle charged anymore from the van, letting it run strictly just the refrigerator. I mean, you park it at 7 p.m. and you're leaving, let's say, because of our trip coming up, we may leave at 5 in the morning. That fridge is still going to be nice and cold, and this thing might be down to 60 or 50% or maybe a little bit lower, depending on whether it was hot in the evening or freezing cold, who knows. So this thing has been great for that. So this thing, we have loved having it. This thing has been running that fridge. We love it. I mean, I can't highly recommend this thing more. It even has a little flashlight on this side. Look at that little dink, dink, nice little spotlight. Don't know why it's there. It's kind of a heavy beast. Not like you're gonna be carrying it around looking for treasure with this thing, but here we are. Let's see if we can get the camera over here. There's the front panel. I'll zoom out so we can kind of see the whole thing. There's the whole front panel. We have our input. This Jackery 500 comes with 2 plugs. It comes with the car adapter to charge it, and it comes with the regular wall and brick combination that will charge this. It can also be charged by solar panels, which if you don't know, if you go to the Jackery website, they have solar panels that you can buy that you can actually, that'll plug right into this plug right here, and it'll charge this thing, obviously a little bit slower than a plug. But again, if you're doing more boondocking style camping where you're not going to have a lot of power options to keep this thing charged. That would help trickle charge it so you can still use it for your devices. Has DC power right here, which we use for the fridge. You push the button, it activates the power to run through it. Turns on the screen here, tells you your how much battery power you have, what your output is, so how much power is leaving. I'm sorry, that's the input. So that's how much power is coming in if you're charging it, and that is how much power is going out. So we just activated it. So right now it says it's wasting about 3 watts. We'll just turn that off. And then you have how much battery's left, okay? Then you have your USB plugs that you can plug up to 3 of them at 5 volt, 2.4 amps. So not exactly speed charging, but again, it's enough to keep everything alive and charged over a short period of time. Then we have our AC power, pure sine wave. We did run the fridge off this before. It definitely sucked the battery dry a lot faster using this versus the DC. But again, you have an option to use this to plug things in. Now, this device is rated to run things like plugging in your laptop, like a full-on laptop, like my Lenovo one that can be used for gaming and editing. You can plug in a television. You can plug in, like I said, a mini fridge, your blender. You know, you can use this to run those things. So this thing is extremely versatile, and it's got some weight to it. Now, is there a part of me that regrets not getting like the bigger one, like the 1000 or the Jackery 1500? Oh man, that would be so amazing. But for what we use it for right now, it is perfection. And the beautiful thing is, if you lose power in your home, you can plug your big old fridge in there and keep everything frozen and cold and whatever you need. Keep your phones charged. And again, this thing is very versatile. It's tough. It's got a hard plastic exterior. Nice rubber feet so it doesn't go slipping and sliding everywhere. It's got a nice fan side right there and on this side. And you'll hear that fan running when it's putting out the juice, especially like when our fridge is working harder to really bring down that temperature, especially if the temperature's hot while we're driving or whatever. You'll hear that fan click on when it's pushing full wattage out. And I'll be honest, I think the fan runs when we run the DC, but it really runs when we were running the fridge off that. Like it was really making sure that it kept everything cool inside, and have never had an issue with it. We usually keep it in our van. When it's not in our van, I usually keep it in my office with the wall charger plugged in. But beyond that, this thing has been a workhorse. So let's kind of compare the 3, even though really only 2 can be compared, and this is kind of like way outside their scope. But we have 3 power bricks here, and they all have their purposes and their reasons for being used. So obviously, when I'm talking about like the Sherpa and the Omnicharge, these are really going to be used for keeping my phones charged, maybe my Surface, or maybe even a laptop for, just short jaunts, visits to the cafe or a rest stop, or being the passenger in a car. These are going to be perfect to carry around in a backpack or whatever, bring on you on your trips. This bad boy is for like your long haul camping trips, family outings. This thing, like when we went and did a barbecue at a lake, we brought the fridge out of the van and put it where we were barbecuing, and I just had this thing sitting next to it, running the fridge while I was barbecuing, and it had all our meats and cheeses in it, and it did fantastic. Everyone was shocked, excited, because all the drinks stayed cold, not having to deal with messy water in that cooler, or should I say the fridge. And so this thing did wonderful for a day trip out to a lake. We were there for a good 6 hours, and this thing just kept going. And then once we were back in the van, trickle charging it with the van at, again, 85 watts, and this thing, slowly fills itself back up to 100% while we're driving. So can't complain about that. So upsides and downsides. Let's start with the Big Bertha here, the Jackery. A lot of great upsides. The only downsides is this one does not come with a USB-C port, so you don't get any like super fast charging out of it to maybe even charge this thing. The only basically I've done it is I have used this to charge this, but with the USB 3 to USB-C, and it takes a while. It's not fast. It's not like when I plug this thing into the MacBook Pro cord, we'll call it, or whatever. But beyond that, charging at home, it can be about a 4-hour affair from a low setting to get it fully charged up. But again, this isn't being used on a daily basis unless we're traveling, if that makes sense. So waiting for it to charge for 4 hours is not really a big deal. Same thing for when we get to where we're going for our trips. I'll take it out of the, like if I don't have an extension cord with me, I would normally just let it sit in the van and run an extension cord and then use the actual wall plug for this thing to charge it from somewhere inside a house or a cabin. But usually I'll just bring it into wherever we are and just plug it in and put it where it doesn't need to be touched unless we need it in the van for a long road trip or anything like that. But even then, again, not using this every day. So waiting 4 hours, 5 hours for this thing to charge 200%, not a deal breaker at all. Like this thing is basically a gigantic car, like a little bit smaller than a car battery, but you get what I'm saying. It's got some weight. This thing is not, it's portable in the sense that you can lift it up, maybe lift some weights with it, put it in your van, behind your seat, under your seat, whatever, plug whatever you need to plug in, trickle charge it with the car or solar panels, and you're good to go. But yeah, the major downside for me was no USB-C to do like more faster charging. I mean, if I wanted to fill this thing up real quick to use sooner, like if it was dying, it would be nice to have that option on here to have a really faster charge. I think the 1000 and the 1500 have USB-C, but I don't know if they're like the 60 watt, like super awesome charging. So don't know. Who knows? So beyond that, the flashlight, no use for it. I don't know why it's there. Again, we all pretty much have a flashlight everywhere in our lives at these points to use. So whatever. But for the purposes that we use it for our family, for keeping the fridge running in the van, or, it can be used again, like I said, like if I didn't want to use, let's say on my deck, if I didn't want to use the power from my house to run a TV out on the deck, watch a sports game, I can use this. I can put a little 3 plugger on there and a little, like maybe a little tiny surge protector and plug in a TV and an Apple TV and watch what I want. It's things that you can use this for. When you take this, a lot of people like to say, I don't know who's watching, but some people deal with sleep apnea. And so a lot of people use this for camping trips to run their CPAP machines. And from what I've been able to see and research about it, thing does a fantastic job. Doesn't use much of the battery and can run it with ease. So this is the Jackery 500. Do I recommend it? It depends on what you're going to use it for. If you're the camping type or traveling, or you want it in your car for emergencies to charge things, if you break down, trips, what have you, obviously you're not hauling this on an airplane. This is more for you driving around, having the time of your life. Then I would say totally get this thing. This thing is worth every penny. I got it from the Jackery website, and I think I got the Memorial Day sale for it. So I got a decent amount of money off, like 25% or something like that. But what I'm saying is if that's the kind of lifestyle you're living, going camping, lots of long trips in the car with families, by yourself or with kids, this thing will not steer you wrong in keeping your things charged and lasting days on end, depending on what you're charging. Like I said, if you're doing a fridge like us, it's going to be about a day. If you're not, it could last 4 days because like I said, that 5 volt, 2.4 amp, it's not going to like super fast charge your phone, but gosh, it'll charge it like it's normally just plugged into the wall. So again, depending on what you need. If you're not into that lifestyle, you're not camping, you're not doing long road trips, then no, this isn't for you. You can do simple things like this. So that's the Jackery 500. Again, I'll leave description in the video below from the Jackery site because you can actually buy it from there, and sometimes they have some pretty decent sales. So that's what I recommend you probably going to purchase it. Let's now go to the Goal Zero Sherpa. Do I recommend this? I do. This thing has been actually pretty nice. Now, obviously, it's got some weight to it. This and the Omnicharge are not light. You aren't going to just put these in your pocket. Now, will these fit in my cargo pockets of my pants, in my shorts? Sure. But I don't feel like having my pants pulled down to the ground because of the weight they carry. This is more like you just kind of leave it there and charge things quickly or charge it up quickly and get things done. The only thing I wish that this had, I wish it had the 3-prong plug like this has. Because it's a little bit more battery space than this, it would be awesome to have a 3-prong plug to use it to yes, I can charge my Surface 8 with this, but I can't charge my Lenovo with this. So it would be nice because it's a little bit larger of a milliamp battery to have that ability to be able to plug in my laptop. For now, I can use this, or if we're set up shop somewhere, I could use this if I wanted to. So that's my only downside of this, is really the weight and the fact that it doesn't have the 3-prong plug on it. And it is pretty, I mean, about the same thickness as the Omnicharge, but it's longer. So it is like, where would you put this? You know, where could it rest? Now, on like a vehicle, it could go like on your dash because it has the rubber feet. But there's not many other places you would really be able to hide this, except maybe it won't even fit in a cup holder. You could put it on the floor or keep it in your backpack and charge things from there. But beyond that, this thing has been great. I have used it a ton so far, mostly to keep the Surface alive and to fast charge this in itself, and to fast charge my cell phone, which has been incredibly fast. And having the wireless charge option is nice. I don't use as often as probably some people do, again, because I have a really hard protective case on my phone, and it is extremely thick, and the space between the bottom and the actual bottom of the phone is a decent distance where it does have trouble picking up the wireless charging signal from this. So I don't use it as much, but it is nice to have when you want to use it. And again, like I said, I got this from Shields. I'm sorry, I did get this from Shields in person with my military discount. But again, I'll link down below to the actual Goal Zero page of this device so you can read more about it. And I'll maybe tag the Amazon sales section, or maybe even Shields. Who knows? If you don't know what Shields is, it's awesome. If you lived in Colorado, you'd understand. Last but not least is this Omnicharge Omni 20. This has been with me for years, and I still use it, and I still love it greatly. I love this thing. This thing has been a workhorse for me, charging laptops, charging phones, tablets. I love it. All around, it's great. It does take a little bit to charge it up compared to like the Sherpa, but I don't care. I love it. I keep it in my laptop bag. It's always there in case I need it. The fact that you can turn it off and turn it off with just, turn on and off with this button, know how much power you have, see how much is going out, see how much is going. I love it. Just like this thing here with the display, you can see what's going on. It's nice that it has separate buttons to activate the different areas. So whether you're doing the 3-prong or you're doing the USB ports, it's not like they're all going to be running all the time. Kind of like with this one, all of them are powered on no matter what. Once it's on, kind of like this one, you separate what is going to be on between these 3 sections. That's what I love about this thing. Like I said, I've been using this forever. I know there's newer generations. In fact, I did look at them. And I mean, sure, did I want to get another one? But the thing is, nothing's wrong with this one right now. The battery is still holding an extremely well charge. It hasn't been dying on me. No problems, no heating up, no nothing. It has been the perfect companion for my laptop bag and my camera bag. So it will continue to stay with me and be used. So I highly recommend this one for those facts. Again, because it has the 3-prong plug for a regular laptop computer, so you can keep that charged. And it has the 3.0 charge here and 3 amp 5 volt here. So it's got some decent charging capabilities, and it'll last a while. Obviously with a laptop, it's going to be a few hours, but when you're charging just phones and iPads, I've had this thing last most of the day. And again, remember, you're not plugging things in and keeping them plugged in all day long where it just trickle charges all day long and dies. No, you're charging it till you're done, turn it off, put it away, bring it, and charge it when you need it. So this thing has lasted sometimes a few days for me. But most of the time, because I use it a lot and charge things a lot, it's basically a day. So, and then I just plug it in at night, and in the morning, it's ready to rock and roll for me. And there's been times where I've plugged this into the wall and I've had another device and another device charging off of it. Sometimes other smaller battery packs that like the kids may use for their Kindles, just because it does the power through. I love it. So this is the Omnicharge Omni 20. And again, I'll put in the link in the description below to the website where you can read all about it and order it. So that's today's episode, going kind of like over 3 different battery packs that we use as a family. And each of them has a purpose and a reason for being around and being made and existing today. And we love the ones that we have. And if I ever get any cooler ones or ones that do even something more spectacular and amazing and last longer, I'll gladly review it and tell you how it works. Because everything we have, we try to, especially me, I try to use it to the full extent that it's able to be used, and be able to tell people what I really think of it. So I love these products. And I would totally recommend this Omnicharge and this Jackery. And as for the Goal Zero, I just love that it can speed charge. And, you know, would I have gotten it again? I don't know. I got it because, number one, I was looking for a backup for the Omnicharge and found myself giving it a try, and I am enjoying it, especially when using the iPad and stuff. So that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you're enjoying your summer and these videos. Again, like and subscribe. You don't have to, but I love spending time with you, and I hope you're having as much fun with me looking at these items. So this is Joe for Avid Joe's Tech Reviews. Peace out.